Now let's talk about infrastructure dimension of supply chain design issues. But actually there is only one infrastructure dimension element, which is coordination. Coordination is based on supply chain perspective. In other words, coordination must occur among supply chain participants, and it's pretty important thing for system level, system-wise optimization, system optimal performance. Coordination meaning that you communicate with your supply chain partners, your partners, or those that share the same value chain. So you make joint decisions, and you communicate with them, you discuss issues with them, and you work with your partners to adjust some of your policies or come up with better strategies and so on and so forth. So that's the definition of coordination. And now, what are the types of coordinations? Where what is the important thing you want to work with your supply chain partners for? For instance, the first thing that comes to our mind is information sharing, information about the market, right? Information sharing. If you, the manufacturer, and you work with your customer, which is usually the retail stores, for example, then you are interested in knowing the end market's demand, and then you need to work with your customer, you need to work with the retailers to gather more accurate information about the end customer's demand, that kind of thing. Information sharing is a big part of coordination. And then sometimes you want to work with your suppliers when you develop your new product, because usually you don't have all the knowledge, you don't have all the expertise, you don't have all the technology needed to develop a new product. Sometimes much of that knowledge is with the supplier. So somehow you need to work with the suppliers to develop better product, to develop a new product in a more effective and more efficient way. And sometimes you do many joint decision making. You probably need to do the advertising or promotion with your suppliers together, or sometimes you need to adjust your capacity, and while doing that you constantly communicate and talk with your suppliers and maybe your distribution partners, so on and so forth. So there are many issues related with very comprehensive joint decision making areas. And obviously R&D, which is associated related with new product development, but somehow R&D for the existing product as well. So you want to do your R&D activities by working with your suppliers and sometimes working with your own customers. So these are some of the elements of coordination. There are some other examples, but I would say that maybe these are the four most important coordination areas. Now let's think about coordination levels. I want to make some typology. Coordination is necessary not only between different companies, right? You have different companies and you need to coordinate with each other, but even if you look at this inside of this manufacturing company. If you look at the inside of the company, then there are also activities and functions that must be coordinated with each other. So let's say the coordination is not only for inter-firm relationship but also intra-firm, within the firm. And also there is coordination between different functions or within the same functions. For example, let's say production department in company A, and also people in the production department company A, they must work together. Maybe the employees or some different ranks in the production department, and they have to work together. That coordination is intra-firm, intra-functional coordination. Or sometimes even within the same company, let's say production function at company A needed to work with the marketing function or sales function at company A. So this is interfunctional coordination but intra-firm. So intra-firm, interfunctional coordination. Or let's say we have our production function and our supplier's production function is there. So let's say that's company B, and then the coordination must be there. That's interfirm but interfunctional coordination. Finally, we can think about, let's say, production function at company A must work with the marketing function at company B. If that is the kind of coordination required, that is the interfirm, interfunctional coordination. And we would say that this might be the most challenging coordination style. Another perspective we can think about regarding this coordination, we can think about coordination intensity. This is most primitive form. There is actually not much coordination at all. It's one directional communication, and there is not much feedback there. So the communication flows from upstream to downstream. And now the next level of coordination is this, feedback. So information is somehow moved backward from downstream to upstream. So we have information. But the thing is that this is just reactions from the downstream functions. There is no guarantee that that feedback information is actually incorporated into the upstream neighbors decision making or upstream functions strategy. And this one is a little high level of coordination, and as you can see, the coordination and communication occurs between consecutive or neighboring functions. Okay, so the manufacturing function coordinate with the distribution function, and supply function coordinate manufacturing function. So it's kind of a local coordination, right? This is good coordination, but somehow we call that as a local coordination. So coordination is good, local coordination is good, but somehow it has some limitations as well. In other words, you can see only these neighboring functions at the same time. And you probably cannot look at the entire value chain, entire supply chain. So the most intensive coordination form involves some sort of integrated coordination entity. In other words, there is an entity that can that can look at this look over all these value chain functions, supply chain functions at the same time. And this entity can be part of formal organizational unit, or it can be informal, as long as you have a champion, or you have activity, department or position that has some power or authority to look at all these value chain activities at the same time, and to initiate coordinating all these functions and activities at the same time. Then that's going to be a very significant development in terms of coordination. So the company has to decide where we stand in terms of this coordination, whether we have very high level of coordination or low level of coordination. Okay, so far we emphasized that coordination is needed and coordination is good, and the firm must try to coordinate all these value chain activities. But in reality, coordination is not that straightforward. It's not easy, because there are some of these difficulties or barriers to effective coordination. Let me talk about 3 of such barriers. The first one is, sometimes we don't have fair measurement system. Why do we coordinate with each other? Because we believe that if we coordinate, then somehow our profit or our share will increase. Let's say this is our current share or pie, the current pie is. But if we do coordination, we think that the pie can be bigger. But the thing is that how much contribution you make, how much contribution I make to this pie increase. Unless I know exactly how much contribution I make, in other words, without fair measurement, I don't know how much claim I have to the increased pie. So when there is there is no systematic and fair measurement system, it is very difficult to do fair sharing of this coordination benefit. It becomes difficult, and then it's problematic. Coordination involves very close relationship between parties involved in that process, and therefore if you don't trust that partner quite well, then sometimes you're afraid of leaking your own proprietary knowledge. In other words, you don't want to lose your own knowledge, know-how, information, or technology. But sometimes it's somewhat difficult to find a trustworthy partner for whom I don't have any concern with or concern about this leakage of proprietary knowledge. But that's not easy. That in reality, that's a little bit difficult. And finally, certain organization has a very particular or peculiar culture that prevents the members of that organization from working together. So the culture is highly competitive. That means that no matter what happens, I have to win this guy and win these people and win this function and win this department. If the culture is highly competitive, then it's not easy to encourage this coordination. So these are some of more important barriers to effective coordination. But at the same time, we need to think about what cost do we have to pay if coordination fails. Basically, the most important cost, the most serious cost is information quality reduction. Uncertainty increases, planning failure, unnecessary risk taking, and mismatch between supply and demand, and stock out high inventory, and that means that all those negative repercussions of having too much inventory we already mentioned. So if coordination fails, information quality will go down. We will define information quality more formally very shortly. But anyway, information quality goes down. That's very, serious problem. It has a very significant repercussion along the way, and therefore we have to measure this cost, and then we have to think about these barriers and which one dominates. So this is another type of cost benefit analysis. And if coordination fails, inefficiency will go up. Somehow these two cost types are related with each other, right? Information quality goes down, that actually encourages or enhances inefficiency in the system. Non-value added activities, unnecessary mistakes, suboptimal resource allocation, opportunity cost, so on and so forth. These are the reasons why we can see inefficiency increase when coordination fails.